Hey, everyone, and thanks for keeping it tuned here. There's a massive story shaking up the political world right now, and honestly, it's one that's got people talking on both sides. President Trump has just issued full pardons to 77 people connected to efforts to challenge the 2020 election results. Yeah, 77. And the names on that list are some of the biggest figures from that chaotic post-election period. We're talking about Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and Trump's personal lawyer at the time. Mark Meadows, his White House chief of staff. Lawyers like Sidney Powell, John Eastman, and Jenna Ellis. All of them were deeply involved in the legal and political push to overturn or challenge the results of the 2020 race. And now, they've all been granted full and unconditional federal pardons by the president. According to the White House, this move is part of what President Trump called an effort to correct a grave national injustice and to promote what he described as national reconciliation. It's being framed as a step toward healing, though, depending on who you ask, it's either a long overdue correction or a deeply controversial decision that could reshape how future presidents use their power. So let's talk about what these pardons actually mean. Essentially, they wipe away any potential federal charges related to actions taken during the post-2020 election challenges. The official language says it covers conduct relating to the advice, creation, organization, or support of any slate of presidential electors in connection with the 2020 election. In simple terms, that means anyone involved in the legal strategies or alternate elector efforts is now free from federal prosecution for that involvement. But here's where it gets interesting. Many of the people on that list hadn't even been charged with federal crimes yet. So in a way, these pardons are preemptive. They act as a legal shield against potential future charges. It's a bold move, one that basically says, if you stood with me during that fight, I've got your back.
What do you think about that?
Should a president have the power to pardon people for things that haven't been proven crimes yet? Or is this just another way of protecting allies and rewriting history? Now, it's important to note, these pardons only apply at the federal level. They don't cover any state prosecutions. So, for example, if someone is still facing charges in places like Georgia or Arizona, this doesn't make those go away. Those cases are separate and unaffected. And no, before anyone asks, President Trump did not pardon himself. The proclamation doesn't apply to him or to members of his immediate family. It's focused solely on those who were involved in the legal and political aftermath of 2020. Reactions have been swift and, unsurprisingly, divided. Supporters of the president are celebrating this as justice finally being served. They argue that these people were unfairly targeted for standing up for election integrity and for asking hard questions about the 2020 results. Rudy Giuliani himself called it a moment of redemption, saying the pardon ended what he described as a political witch hunt that ruined reputations and livelihoods. Critics, on the other hand, see it as an abuse of power. They argue that it sends a message that political allies can act without consequences, that if your side wins, accountability disappears. Some legal experts have even warned that this could set a dangerous precedent, blurring the line between legitimate political advocacy and potential criminal conduct. And that brings us to a much bigger question. Where do we draw that line? Should presidents be allowed to use pardons to protect their own team, especially when it involves actions tied to elections? Or is that just part of the system we've always had, a power meant to bring closure after political turmoil? Whether you think this is justice or just political payback, one thing is clear. It's one of the most sweeping and controversial acts of presidential clemency in modern American history. And it sends a powerful message about how President Trump views that chapter of American politics. He's essentially saying, we're moving on. These people were patriots, not criminals. But it also sparks another debate. If those pardoned are no longer under federal threat, what happens next at the state level? Will prosecutors back down? Or will they double down? That's something we'll likely find out in the coming months. It's hard to ignore the timing, too. With Trump back in the White House, this move reinforces that his administration is taking a very different approach to the aftermath of 2020. It's not about distancing himself from that period. It's about embracing it and redefining it on his own terms. Now, whether you agree or disagree, you've got to admit, this is a defining moment in modern American politics. It touches on everything from the limits of presidential power to how we deal with political accountability. It's about justice, loyalty, and how we as a country remember our past. So, I want to hear from you. Do you think these pardons were the right move? Are they about healing and fairness, or do they risk undermining accountability and trust in the justice system? Whatever your opinion, this decision is going to be talked about for a long time. And as more details unfold, you can bet it'll shape both the legal and political landscape heading into the next election cycle. Thanks so much for watching and for spending a few minutes with me today. If you found this breakdown helpful or thought-provoking, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more updates and deep dives into stories just like this one. Your support really helps the channel grow and keeps these conversations going. Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and I'll catch you in the next one.